So there are four activities that you can do. Basically, we'll have four spins at least. One, if you join on Patreon, if you're already on Patreon, then you can just fill out the form and show that you have already done that. Another one, and if you can add those links, Flo, if you can add the Patreon link to the chat, and if you can also add, Flo, the Solarium affiliate, my affiliate link into for the pilot into the chat as well. So if you join on Patreon, then you just enter that into the form, the Google Doc here, and that enters you for one spin. If you do, welcome, Richard. And if you join on, let me share the screen again so you guys can see that on the form. And so if you share it, you just take a screenshot or you tag us and that you share the Patreon on any social media, that will enter you for one of the spins. And then if you register on the Solarium, that will also register you. So Solarium, there is a link and Flow. I'm not sure if you have that in the chat there. Let me get that added. And then if you fund a Solarium, so you either put Bitcoin or USDT into the Solarium account to get it started, then you also get a spin for that one. So I think each one's like $5, $5, $10, $20. We might do an extra bonus one as well. So we'll have to see how we do there. Let me grab the Solarium site for the link. Welcome, Richard. Where are you joining us from today? If you're on mute, if you're there.
Hello, good morning. Good
Hey,
afternoon.
where are you located?
I'm from Nigeria, man.
All right, welcome. So if you want to enter the drawing, there's a link in there. There you go. That's the Google Doc. You fill it out. That's the one to register for Solarium. And then we also have one for what's Precious. All right. And then we also have one for the Patreon. So do you have that Patreon link also?
Please, where am I going to see the link?
What's that?
Where am I going to see the link in the
In
Google
the
Doc?
chat. So if you look in the chat there,
Okay.
just click on the link in the chat. All right. And then that Google Doc, you have to basically, we're going to verify that, for each of the activities that you have done them. And then when you've done that, that will enter you for one of the spins to win one of the prizes. Morning, Precious. I think Precious just joined. How you doing? Okay. So I want to submit that. Your form. All right. I don't want to submit it. Let me go back. Try that again. Submit. Yeah. All right. I want to show you guys what that looks like so you can see how to submit it, but it looks like it's making me, I already entered it once. So let me try a different browser. So there are basically four activities that you can do, and each one of those will enter you to win one of the prizes. And you guys can start those while we're having other people join. So if you're already on the Patreon, then you can just go ahead and
Nice one. I am about to shock you.
let me pull it up again, see if we can show you guys that. There we go. All right, turn the volume up. Okay, we can hear. Precious. Okay, so I'm going to show you the form again so you can see how you can enter. Hopefully. I'll sign to Google. There's Manuela. Welcome, Manuela. I'm precious. Sign up with Google. We don't want to sign into Google. All right, Flo, you may have to show people the form because it's forcing me to, you'd only let me show it one time and then it's not letting me show it again, but let's see if this works.
I think there's a problem with it. I'm fixing it in 5 minutes.
Okay. Hi, Manuela. All right, Richard, were you able to pull up the Google form? Is it working? And Cecile, did you try it in Clean Tea? Is it working for you guys?
The Solarium, yeah, but I'm not interested in the Patreon.
Okay, that's fine. So you just sign up on the Solarium and then fill out the Google form and just say that you signed up and registered on Solarium. And if you fund it, then put that as well. I'm gonna enter you for 1 or 2 spins to win additional to the Bitcoin prizes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, is this actually working? No, I think something's wrong on the form, Flo. Oh, wait a minute. Let me switch accounts. Let's see if that does it. Let me try a different account. Maybe it only, I think maybe it only allows you each person to enter once. So maybe that's why it's not letting me look at it anymore. All right, let me try one more time. Switch accounts. All right. So if anybody's having a problem, please let me know or let Flo know. We might just have to take your entries manually because it's not working for me to try to enter it again, Flo, right now. But if it's working for other people, that's good. If not, let's just take manually their entry. The Google link, Richard, let me give you the Google link again. So Richard, there is the Google link. And we'll get started with the rest of the meetup here. Someone has edited it. Oh, okay. That's not good. More. All right, so I think we are good there. And I don't see Joseph yet, so I'm going to play the video that I have for the Bitcoin Ownership Initiative first, and then we will go from there. So this just gives you a little bit on why we're doing the Bitcoin Ownership Initiative and what we're doing this particular session. Let me share it real quick. Share the sounds. And this one. All right, we'll play it. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's cancel that. All right, there's Sunday. Welcome, Sunday. I'll erase this out of here. Okay, let's move this and let's play that. Welcome, Sunday. Welcome, Lynette. All right, I'm going to just play this video. And let me know if you can hear the sound.
Hello, everyone. I am John Okoro's
This is my AI clone. It's
Today,
not
I want
me.
to talk about
AI.
something that
Can everybody hear that?
is one of the most important financial and technological developments of our lifetime, Bitcoin. Now, whenever people hear Bitcoin,
Audible?
many immediately think about trading, speculation, or trying to
Yes,
get
I
rich
can hear.
quickly. But that's actually not what I want to discuss. I want to discuss ownership, because throughout history, wealth has often been created by people who gained ownership of important assets before the rest of the world recognized their value. For centuries, land created wealth and lasting value. Then businesses and corporations created wealth on a global scale. Then the internet created wealth. And now we may be entering an era where digital assets become one of the foundations of global wealth. Bitcoin is the first truly global digital asset. It is not controlled by any government. It is not controlled by any corporation. It operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, across borders and across continents. Anyone with an internet connection can participate, and that changes the game. For many people in developed countries, Bitcoin may simply be another investment option. But for much of Africa and for many people across the African diaspora, Bitcoin represents something much bigger. Bitcoin represents access to a global network, access to a global financial network, access to savings that cannot easily be inflated away, access to an asset that can move across borders without requiring permission from traditional institutions. Many African countries have experienced periods of currency instability, inflation, or limited access to global financial systems. Bitcoin offers an alternative, not a perfect alternative, not a magic solution, but an alternative. And sometimes having an alternative is incredibly powerful. The same is true for members of the African diaspora around the world. Many of us have watched generations work hard, earn income, and still struggle to build lasting wealth. We have often participated in economies without owning meaningful portions of the assets that created the greatest value. Bitcoin gives ordinary people an opportunity to own a piece of a global network. And fundamentally, ownership matters. Because ownership changes incentives, ownership changes behavior, ownership changes outcomes. Now, I want to be very clear. Bitcoin is volatile. Its price goes up, its price goes down, nothing is guaranteed. Everyone should do their own research and make their own decisions. But when I look at Bitcoin, I don't just see a price chart. I see a long-term technology network. I see a scarce digital asset. I see a system that has continued operating for more than a decade without central control. And I see increasing adoption by individuals, businesses, institutions, and even governments. That's why I believe the most important question is not, can I get rich from Bitcoin? The more important question may be, do I own any? Because if Bitcoin continues growing in importance over the coming decades, future generations may ask why more people didn't acquire even a small amount when they had the chance. My personal belief is simple. The future economy will be increasingly digital. Artificial intelligence will reshape work, blockchain technology will reshape ownership, and Bitcoin may become one of the foundational assets of that new economy. That doesn't mean putting all your money into Bitcoin. It means learning, understanding, and considering whether owning at least some Bitcoin makes sense for your personal situation, for Africa, for the diaspora, and for ordinary people everywhere. The goal is not speculation. The goal is participation. The goal is ownership. And the goal is helping more people take part in the opportunities being created by the future economy. Thank you for listening. I'm G. John Okoro. If you're interested in learning more about Bitcoin, AI, blockchain, tokenization, and the future of digital ownership, be sure to follow Auspicious AI and Blockchain and the Wakanda MeetUp community.
So that was just a little overview on it. I think I'm going to dive in. We were going to have Joseph start first, but I don't see him on yet. So I will dive into the Bitcoin Ownership Initiative. And if you're having a problem entering the contest entry, just give it directly to Flo, please, in the chat, or Emanuela on my team, and you guys might have to just track it manually if you're not able to enter it using the Google form. All right. Okay, and I'm going to start up here. If Joseph joins us, I'll probably switch over to him, but otherwise, I'll go ahead and start on the Bitcoin Ownership Initiative. So let me start from the beginning. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So please send, if you're not able to use the Google form, the Google app is not working, send your entry information to Flo or Emanuela, who are both here in the chat on my team, and they'll help you with that. Let me see. So make co-host. And I'm going to go through here, and you guys will be able to continue doing your entries throughout the session. All right, so obviously we got the giveaway, we got 4 prizes, possibly more, and you got the QR codes right there you can scan as well for Patreon and Solarium. They're also in the chat for you to do the registration on either or both of them. And the Patreon is a free registration too. All right, so why has one digital asset become worth trillions while thousands of others have not? And this is a discussion we were having in the meetup. It was Lynette was there last time, and she talked about Basic Solarium, which is a platform that gives the prizes or awards for in Bitcoin, which I really thought was a really great idea, because Bitcoin is something that after 15 years, it's still dominating. It's still in the market where, basically this is the first new asset that we've had since, I don't know, since like basically paper money. So it's a long time since we've had like basically a new kind of an asset class And so Bitcoin is a very big change, right? And so we want to understand why it exists and not just what it's worth, but, and of course, this is not financial advice, it's just education information. So I want to make sure that we make that clear. Right? Yeah, come on. Yep. So gold, right? That gold was the kind of the original always, you go all the way back to like ancient days, biblical days. Everybody knows gold. Still, people are still trying to get gold. China's getting gold. Europe's getting gold. America's trying to get their hands on as much gold as possible. Africa has gold, although we usually give it to other regions rather than holding on to it. But nonetheless, gold is obviously a very key asset. It's scarce, it's durable, it's heavy, and it's worth, it's going to have worth and it'll probably always have quite a bit of worth. Paper money, right? So paper money, which honestly, it's just paper. So there's no actual value in the paper itself, but it's basically backed by a government saying, hey, if you, use our money, we're backing it. And in some cases, obviously, we're required to use our money. You have to use it. So you've got paper money, and paper money is another, option, another alternative in the way that money and things are sent. But the bottom line is that paper money, I mean, it's honestly worth no more than this piece of paper that I'm waving right now, right? It's literally just paper, right? So paper that's backed by saying, okay, well, a government says that this is, worth something. Electronic banking, right? So now then you also have most of our money, actually, we don't even have paper anymore. Most of us just have, dots on digits on the screen. And a lot of people always say, well, Bitcoin, oh my gosh, Bitcoin, it's just digital money. But how many of you have taken like the full contents of your bank account and taken it out in cash? Probably not most of you, right? Most of you probably just leave your money in the bank, which means all it really is just numbers on a screen. Okay, that's really all that you have in your electronic banking. Even though we feel good about it, we're like, yeah, awesome, I've got all this money, but the truth is it's numbers on a screen. And then Bitcoin, which again is digital, scarce, portable, borderless. This is by Lynn Alden. It's one of the books I recommend. Money's a technology. It evolves as civilization evolves. So this is one of the first financial innovations, and basically, like we said, in decades, I say hundreds of years since paper money. And then we got kind of electronic banking. All right, so we can see here, Bitcoin scores higher than any previous form of money. So gold, it's very stable, right? At least, I mean, prices do go up and down, but you can assume that your gold is going to be worth something, right? I will say, but the drawback, let's say you got a bunch of gold and you need to hurry and go to another country, or you got to travel somewhere. Is it easy to take your gold with you? Anybody have an answer on that? Is it an easy
Nope,
thing?
it's not. It's not.
Not at all, right? It's very difficult to just go around, carrying a bunch of gold, and not to mention dangerous. That's someone usually will be looking to maybe come and like bop you over the head if you're walking around with a bunch of gold, right? So not really very easy to move around, and it doesn't really yield income unless there are some financial products that you can kind of back them with a gold back loan or something. But generally speaking, not. Bitcoin, right? Exceptional long-term return. So I think the average return, and that you can let me know if you have a different number, but the average Flo says that the form is working now, so you can try that form in the chat, by the way. So Lynette, you can let me know if you have a different number. Lynette's very good in the financial side. She comes from a financial background. But I believe that the average year over year return Bitcoin has been increase in value has been anywhere between like 65% all the way up to 150%. So I've seen different numbers from different institutions, different people, but it is the best performing asset in the last decade. I'd even say more than a decade now, of any other. I don't know. What number do you have, Lynette, on that? Do you have a number for how Bitcoin has what return it has every year? You're on mute if you're there.
Um, you're right on the ballpark. I think at one point it got as high as like 121%.
Yeah. So, I mean, can anybody think of anything else that
And
even
that,
comes close to that? Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, that was in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So yeah. The returns are crazy. So yeah, right. You're right on the ballpark, a little over 65 or more percent, which is, I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah, it definitely does. Definitely does. So, can anybody think of anything over the last 10, let's say 12 years that has gone up more than that in value every year? So I'm opening it up. Let's just have a discussion as a group here. Can anybody tell me anything that has, let's conservatively say 65% a year, on the upside, probably around like 120% every year. Can anybody think of anything that goes up in value more than that over the last 10 years plus? Welcome, Akan.
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA. All right. So let's look at the performance of NVIDIA. Can you give me some annual
I
numbers over the last
don't
10?
know. It just keeps going up. It is the top
All right.
10.
I'm interested to see, can somebody give me the average number? How long has NVIDIA, by the way, been on the public publicly available? Anybody know? So I'm curious to see if that it's not by itself an asset class, but it is one stock, and if it is doing that good, let me see what the average return has been actually. Let's ask our friend ChatGPT here, and let's find out what the return has been on that.
It's
Good, good, you
usually
could be
been
right.
around like 38 to 40%.
38 to 40%. Let me see
Mhm.
here. Give me a
And that was
second.
over the last, what, 10 to 15 years.
All right. What is the average return, annual return for NVIDIA stock over the last 10 years?
And Apple as well. Apple's the number one as well. It's been for a long time.
Let's see if we get an answer here. Can you hear me?
It seems like you were testing the waters there. If you need those stock return numbers later, I'll be ready. Meanwhile, take
One more time. Let's try that one more time. Or if anybody else can get that number, give me that number. I'm curious to see if there's anything that has outperformed Bitcoin. I don't think there is, but we'll see. Can you tell me for Apple and NVIDIA stock over the last 10 years what the annual average return has been?
Over the last 10 years, NVIDIA's average annual return has been roughly between 60 to 70%, depending on the source. For Apple, its average annual return over the past decade has been around 28%. Both of these returns include dividends reinvested.
All right, so NVIDIA is close, at least on the conservative side for Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin, in fact, let's do Bitcoin as well. So let's try that. For the last 10 years, please give me the average return for Bitcoin, annual return for Bitcoin, average.
Over the last 10 years, Bitcoin's average annual return has been estimated in a wide range, but many reasonable estimates place it roughly between 50 and 70% per year. That's based on historical data, though some sources show even higher numbers depending on the calculation method. Keep in mind, Bitcoin has been highly volatile, with some years seeing massive gains and others large drops. So past performance isn't a guarantee of.
Cool. So I'm not sure who said that. Was that if that was Cecile, whoever? So we're close. I think NVIDIA is close. That is fair, but I think that Bitcoin is probably still a little bit higher, but NVIDIA is definitely close. So I would give you that in terms of the return. Obviously, the returns overall very strong. Bitcoin's volatility, like the AI was just saying, it is very volatile. So it's like getting on a crazy roller coaster. And a lot of people really are like, oh my gosh, this is too much, right? Because it's just, it's up and down. But the bottom line is if you look at over time how this is going up, it's going up and up and up and up and up, right? I remember years ago, I was talking to a family member and he was like, yeah, you should look into Bitcoin. That was back like in 2012, right? So it's like 14 years ago or something. And he's like, yeah, you should look into it. And I remember it was like $1 or something or $10. And I remember laughing, me and other family members were just laughing, like, no, I don't have time for that, right? Do you think I would have been happy if I would have bought that Bitcoin back then at $10?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's right now it's like 63, 65. I haven't checked this morning, $1,000, right? And even though it's come down from 110,000, if you look at the big picture of that, either way, we are way above $10. That's for sure. And with all the big institutions that are buying it now, there's a high likelihood that we're going to probably see it go over 100 again, probably over 1 million. That's my speculation. Obviously, I'm not, I don't have some I don't have a crystal ball, but I think there's a high likelihood because institutions don't buy it for no reason. So property, right? You can invest in property, which is always good, a good asset, right? It generates monthly rental income, even though you have to maintain it, but nonetheless, you get that, and it's tangible. It's there available for you. Just make sure you pay your property taxes if you're in the U.S. And property barriers, right? A lot of upfront capital, so you got to make that down payment usually, not always, but usually. Active management and maintenance, and it's very slow to sell. Usually going to be at least a few months at a minimum. And if the market's slow, it could be, up to a year or more. And then liquidity differences and also land. A lot of people I know have been obviously looking at land, and also people have been looking at African land as well, which I think is actually doing quite well, like in Ghana and things like that. There's quite a bit of, land that's going up in value quite a lot. But obviously you have risks, like there was a lot of flooding that recently happened. So you have risks with land. And then liquidity differences, right? So you got Bitcoin, which trades instantly. So if I want to send Bitcoin, which I do all the time, I can send it to you. Like if you win one of the prizes, Akan, by the way, you can fill out the form in the Google form there. And that is going to allow you to enter the contest. You just have to make sure that you've already joined, I think, on Solarium. So you can enter for that one. If you join on Patreon, follow the Patreon link. You can get that from Flo or Manuela, and that will enter you for that one. Okay. And then they'll register you for the prizes. Okay, which we'll do a little bit later. So, and then you can see Bitcoin, I can send it immediately. So immediately it takes me, Bitcoin is considered to be a slow digital currency. So it can sometimes take, 20 or 30 minutes to get there. But compare that to me trying to get gold to somebody or trying to transfer the land or property much faster, right? Stocks, it could be faster if the market is open, but if the markets are closed, not going to be that fast. And then strategic diversification. So minimizing your risk basically is giving you a mix of different types of assets. And a lot of people will recommend that. And go ahead, Lynette. You're going to say something?
No, I was going to add something to, if you all want to take a look, like how that works. A couple in Ann Arbor, Michigan, they became the first U.S. home buyers to secure like a Fannie Mae backed mortgage using Bitcoin as collateral. So when you were kind of talking about like property and stuff like that. So so think of it like this, instead of them liquidating their crypto for a down payment, which again would trigger like capital gains taxes, they pledged their Bitcoin to secure the loan do that. So just so you know, it's the ways that people are utilizing it and how it's amazing. So just wanted to kind of bring that up because you were, talking about property and stuff like that. It is happening. It is happening for sure.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of movement now where people are allowing they'll use your assets, so they'll count your Bitcoin, they'll take deposits and down payments using Bitcoin. And one of the reasons I want you guys to think about, can anybody think of why they would allow that? Why would they allow people to do that? Can anybody think of why they might want to allow you to pay in your Bitcoin? Anybody have a clue on that one? Why would they do that? Any guesses? Why would they want your Bitcoin?
One is scarce, so they have access. What better way?
Right? So it's like me saying, yeah, exactly. Exactly, right? Think about it. Like if it was gold, right? And they're like, hey, if we want your gold, why do they want your gold? Because your gold is valuable, right? So obviously there's a reason they want that Bitcoin. They want that Bitcoin because, it's valuable, and these companies do this analysis. They believe it's going to be more valuable in the future, not less valuable, right? So that's why they're like, okay, we'll take your Bitcoin now, for your property, for whatever you're going to do. Okay, let's keep going here. So for decades, digital money was impossible, right? Bitcoin changed that forever. The problem, digital files can be copied indefinitely. So before you could like spend the digital money like 10 times, 15 times. And the only solution really was just to get it at bank. So you go to the bank, and then the bank would say, okay, we've got it. We're tracking it. We have a ledger, they call it, right? We're tracking your money. We got it covered. So they cover and they track it, right? But the problem was with that is that, obviously everything is through the bank. So if you don't have access to banking, like if you're in many parts of the developing world, many parts of Africa, you're not going to necessarily have banking available to you. And also that central control can also be a problem sometimes. But a decentralized network has thousands of computers, basically keeps ledger. So Bitcoin allows it to be all around the world. So everybody around the whole world is able to actually participate, and you don't have one central bank, you don't have one central ledger. Now, that's actually a problem for, like I said, central bank, right? People who are actually the central banks, which is usually like the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the central banks of the world. These guys don't really like that. And can you guess why they don't like it? Why would they not like that you don't need a central bank for Bitcoin? Anybody guess why they don't like it? Why wouldn't they be like, yeah, it's great. I'm glad that you don't need this bank for this, anybody can do it. Why do you think that they would have a problem with, people just everybody keep your own? You don't need to send to us right now. Any guesses? Why would the central banks have a problem with that?
I guess because they won't be able to control it.
Yeah, they can't control it, right? So if I don't need to ask their permission to send it to you, I don't need their permission to send it to Ishmael or Cecile or Lynette, well, then now that they lose control, right? Because obviously the way that you control something is you control by the money, right? So if you control the money, then you're like, hey, I can control whatever you do. But if they don't have control of it, now they've got a problem because they're like, well, we can't control it. Now, some people go, oh, well, it's good. We need to, the central bank needs to control it. But one of the things that happens is the reason we actually have Bitcoin is in 2008, 2009. Does anybody know what happened back in 2008, 2009? Anybody remember any of that?
Mortgage crisis.
Mortgage crisis and a great financial crisis hit the whole world, right? We call it what we call the global recession, I think, the Great Recession. So the whole world, because of these mortgage products and stuff that were like kind of like made up financial things, instruments, I'll just call it that for lack of a better word here. It basically caused the whole economy to crash. And coming out of that, people were like, wow, okay, we just like lost all of our retirement savings, our house value went down, everything's going down. Okay, this is not good. So what ended up happening was that basically they came up with Bitcoin. Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he or they might be, or she. So they came up with Bitcoin because they're like, it's not a good thing that all of our finances are through these banks, right? And then when everything goes down, everything we have is gone. So they said, we need Bitcoin. We need something else like this where it's decentralized and everybody can access the ledger, not just a few people, doing it, but everybody can access it. And that was really the inspiration that made Bitcoin come, into the market and be created. So it solves what we call the double spend problem. Excuse me, before 2009, that financial crash, that had never been solved. So anytime if I said, oh, I'm sending you some digital money, Lynette, but then I could also take the same digital money and I could also send it over to Flo. I could take the same digital money and I could send it to Cecile. So it's kind of like if I go buy some land somewhere, which happens a lot, and I sell it to, 5 different people. Well, who actually owns the land? So that's a problem. But Bitcoin solved that problem, which we call solving the double spend problem. Okay, cool. So let's go on. All right, welcome back, Richard. And so Bitcoin is not just digital cash. It is the first form of truly ownable digital property. So this is not just like, oh, you got some digital money I can send you, because you could actually send, there's a bunch of different digital assets. I could send you any one of them. Okay. But digital cash, you can send it to value. So I can send it to anybody. It's digital savings. And this is really big in Africa and developing markets, especially because I can save this, right? Now, some people go, well, look, it goes up, it goes down, John. It's so volatile. Why would I want to save this? But think about it. Has anybody seen what's happened? I remember I'm Nigerian on my dad's side. Okay. I remember the Naira when I was growing up as a kid, it was actually pretty close in value to the US dollar. Does anybody know what the Naira is worth compared to the dollar today? Anybody know?
1383.
1383. Okay, so that's a big difference. When I was growing up, it used to be like 12 or something. So things have gone down a lot, right? And so a lot of people are like, oh, well, if I have Bitcoin, Bitcoin's going down in value so much. Oh, but it's not going down in value. Number one, Bitcoin's going up in value over average, as we already talked about. And number two is that compared to the Naira, or let's say, God forbid, you had a situation like in Zimbabwe. Does anybody know what happened to Zimbabwe's currency? Anybody aware of that one? All right, well, let's ask chat here. Give me a second. Can you tell me over the last 10 years what has happened to the value of Zimbabwe's currency?
Over the last 10 years, Zimbabwe's currency has gone through significant devaluation. In 2019, the Zimbabwean dollar was reintroduced, but it rapidly lost value, going from a few units per US dollar to over 6,000 by the end of 2023. In April 2024, a new currency called the Zimbabwe Gold, or ZiG, was introduced at about 25 per US dollar. Overall, the currency has lost over 99% of its value against the US dollar during that period.
So what that basically means, if your currency loses 99% of its value, right? So let's say that you have a million Zimbabwe dollars and it loses 99% of its value. What do you have now? Pretty much nothing, right? So this is what's happening to a lot of currencies, especially African ones, but all over the world. They're losing their value. Even the US dollar is losing its value, actually, but not as badly as others, right? So when you have the ability to actually save in Bitcoin, which is something that has a limited supply, that actually has the potential to go up in value, which is exactly what it's doing. And then digital collateral, so you can borrow against it, you can take loans against your Bitcoin, right? This is what wealthy people do all the time. They'll take loans against, real estate, of course. They'll take loans against stocks. Like Elon Musk, when people are like, oh, he's got all this money. Actually, all of his money's in stocks. Or Jeff Bezos, their money's in stocks. And they just either borrow against it or they'll sell someone they need it. But that's how they use it as collateral. And then the bearer asset, which means whoever holds the keys holds a Bitcoin. So never give out your private keys, by the way. But private keys, your Bitcoin, that is actually what gives you the value of the Bitcoin, right? Is that you actually own it. So if you have to hop on a plane tomorrow morning, you may have a very hard time taking your gold. You can't take your land with you. They're probably going to limit the amount of currency you can take. But how much are you limited in how much Bitcoin you can take with you?
Nope, because you control the narrative.
Yeah, you can take as much as you want. Just have the keys in your head here or written down somewhere, and you can bring as much. You can bring $1 million of Bitcoin. You can bring 10 million if you're blessed to have that. You can bring as much Bitcoin as you want, and really, there's nobody can stop you from bringing it with you. So that's a big difference, right? Nobody can print more. It's basically in the code, as we call it. So it's set amount, and nobody can confiscate it without your keys. Andreas Antonopoulos, I got one of my book recommendations for him. He's really, really good. I love his book, The Internet of Money. He just explains a bunch of short stories and sessions about why Bitcoin is so valuable. He's one of the early adopters of this. So 21 million Bitcoin fixed forever. Some of that's been lost actually, but that is fixed. And I think we had a few people join. So if you join, you can message Flo or you can message Emanuela on my team. And I think Priscilla's here too. And they can help you to enter with the Google form for the competition. And you can ask them any questions. So if you enter and join the Solarium, you will get an entry. If you join on our Patreon, you get an entry into our giveaway. And then also if you fund the Solarium and if you share the Patreon. So you can ask Flo, who's there on screen. You can also ask Priscilla and you can also ask Emanuela and they'll help you to register. Okay, so that's for those of you who are just joining. I see Carl just joined. And I think a few other people joined. Carl, you joined twice there. And I think a few other people joined. So Quabena, also you can enter the same way. The form is there. Flo, I think you dropped it in the chat. So ask Flo or Priscilla or Emanuela, and they'll help you with that. Okay. So compared to Nigerian naira, Zimbabwe currency, but almost any currency. I mean, the dollar is the best of the fiat currencies there is, right? And the dollar, I remember looking at, a house that, where I grew up, and That house, I unfortunately don't own it anymore, but that house is worth, I would say, let me not lie, I think 20 times what it was then in terms of dollars. Now, here's a question though. Did the value of the house go up or did the value of the dollar go down? Real question. Did the value of the house go up or did the value of the dollar go down? Anyone want to guess? Carl, what do you think? Value of the house go up or the value of the dollar go down?
I think the value of the dollar went down.
Yeah, I mean, so on the good side, you go, oh, wow, yes, I've got 20 times more value in my house. But the real reason for that is because your dollar's not worth as much. If you go to a grocery store, so I'm thinking of the US, but obviously you can go anywhere in the world to the market. Okay. If I take a dollar to a grocery store right now, I used to be able to buy eggs for like 99 cents. Now they cost me like $6. Okay. So again, are the eggs that much more valuable? I don't think so. The chickens aren't laying golden eggs. It's just that the dollar is not so valuable anymore. And does anybody know why the dollar keeps on getting less valuable? All right, we said there's a fixed
Here in
amount of Bitcoin. Go ahead, go ahead.
I know here in the US, the reason why is because of the money printing.
Yeah.
Got a
Money
bunch
printing.
of money. Yep. So they can print as much money as they want out of thin air. But that's why what makes Bitcoin so valuable, because you can't print unlimited Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's a scarce and limited amount. So because of the money printing, it's causing the dollar to go down, right? And then as everything else is going up in value, it causes us to lose our purchasing power.
Exactly. And it's the same thing Carl's saying there, inflation, right? So that's basically the flip side of it is when they keep printing more dollars, that's the game, right? Because everybody's like, oh, these people are so rich, this one's so rich. Really, no. Basically, the closer you are to the money printer is, quote, the richer you are, right? So if you like are part of like some Wall Street firm and you can go over and say, hey, we need like a disbursement of some more funds, and they can just print it for you. It's just like digital printing, really. Obviously, you're very wealthy because you have all the money. I remember there's a basketball player who he got into a scandal. I won't get into it, but he said something that they didn't like what he said, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'll pay like however many $1 million, and I'm apologizing." And they pretty much laughed when he said he was going to pay those $1 million or whatever. Do you know why they laughed? Why they're like, "We don't want your money"? Why do you think they said that? This is in the U.S. Why do you think they were not impressed and did not really care about, him giving them the million or several million, whatever it was he offered to pay? Anybody guess?
Like I said, it just print more out.
Exactly. They can just print more money. If I can just print as much money as I ever wanted, why would I care about your $1 million? I mean, your $1 million is like one grain of sand on the beach to me, right? I can just print it and print it and print it. So they're like, ha, we don't need your $1 million, right? And that's basically how control works, but it's also how the money works. So that's why even though people think the dollar is so valuable, and yes, it is the most valuable fiat currency we got, at least generally speaking, is still the world reserve currency at the moment. However, it's not, there's no fixed amount of it. They're going to just keep printing it and printing it and printing it and printing it. And that means that, yep, if you are close to the ones who can print the money, which is the government, the Federal Reserve, whatever, well, then obviously you got plenty of money, you're rich. But if you can't print the money, which because for every average regular person, it's a crime, can't print money. Right? So then if you try to commit money, they're going to lock you up. But that money, you're considered not to have a lot of wealth because you can't print the money. Right? So the closer you are to the money printer is basically the more wealth that you have. But Bitcoin fixes this problem because it's not easy money, which is like, hey, we'll just print it all day. Bitcoin is what they call hard money, meaning you can't just print it like that, right? There's a set amount, and all there's ever going to be is that set amount of Bitcoin. All right. So that is a very big factor with Bitcoin. Now, the primary purpose here of Bitcoin is decentralized, a scarce, secure store of value in money, right? Programmable. These are some of the other digital assets and currencies here that we have. All right. So you have Ethereum, which is programmable smart contract, decentralized apps. You have altcoins. Camera here, let you listen. You have Ethereum, which is a programmable smart contract. And that's really, it's used by all the digital dollars, the USDT, USDC, all of those use Ethereum. So Ethereum is very powerful. If you consider Bitcoin as digital world to be gold, I would consider personally Ethereum to be silver, right? So Ethereum is a very powerful currency. A lot of people argue about it, like, oh no, it's this one, it's that one. But Ethereum has pretty much been the second coin almost since its inception, like however many years ago. So at least a decade, I think now. Okay. You have other altcoins. So your other altcoins, there are various different utility and speculative purposes for altcoins. You got your Solana, people like meme coins on it. You got this one, you got that one, you got a bunch of different coins. Okay. You got stable coins. I pay my team often with stable coins. So that's digital dollar. This is very powerful because you can now pay people all over the world. But the downside of it is that, obviously, as we talked about, is the value of the dollar going up or is the value of the dollar going down? From what we just said, is the value of that dollar going up or is the value of that dollar going down? Any guess? All right, so it's not just going down, it's going way down. So that dollar is losing value all the time. But it's still powerful for financial inclusion because now I can send dollars, US digital dollars to Ishmael. I can send them to Flow. I do, right? So stable coins are very powerful, but they're also still centralized. Anybody know what it means when it says they're still centralized? So let's say, go ahead.
Somebody still controlling them?
Yeah. So let's say I'm like, hey, I want to send you some digital dollars, but whatever. I'm wearing a black t-shirt and they don't like people wearing black t-shirts, right? They go, you know what? We don't want you to be able to send that. So they could just hit the switch and they can stop me from being able to send you anything, right? So it's still centralized. And that could be USDT, the Tether, or Circle, whoever issues that dollar stablecoin. And that's very dangerous because a lot of us are very comfortable, like, oh, the stablecoin, why do you need Bitcoin? You got the stablecoin, you can just use that. But you can't, because with Bitcoin, nobody can hit that switch. Nobody can go, you know what? I don't like your black t-shirt, I'm turning off your money. And if you don't believe this, you can look at China, look at what's called the EU yuan. Anybody ever heard of the EU yuan before? That's China's money, right? So it's pretty much all digital now. And there's been a lot. I used to live in Asia for a while. I used to live in Singapore, so I'm familiar with everything over there. There has been a lot of instances where people they posted something that the government didn't like, or, they went somewhere the government didn't want them to go, and the government's just like, beep, and they just turn off their digital yuan money, right? Or they restrict them like, you know what? You were able to spend, 10,000 digital yuan, now you can only spend 500. So do you think that being centralized like that is going to be a good thing for people in general and for African diaspora? Do you think that's going to be a good thing for us? What if Ghana goes, you know what, we're not going to sell you gold for this, or Kenya says we're not giving you, these coffee beans or whatever it is, or Ethiopia says that? What do you think is the next thing that's going to happen to their digital dollars? or you're in the US and you protest, you're like, hey, I thought, I did not like, how a certain situation went down with the police or something, right? And so let's say you protest. If you do that and you're using digital dollars, do you think that they could just press the button and stop your dollars?
No.
Oh, yeah, they can. They can. They absolutely can. They can be like, you know what? You shouldn't have said that. And then they're going to push that button, and that's the end of you using your money, right? So that's what it means when it says centralized. Now, do you think they can do that with Bitcoin? Can they do that with Bitcoin, though?
No.
No. All
Well,
right. And
unless they can stop the internet.
if they shut down the whole internet and we go back to the Stone Age, you are right, Cecile. They can stop your internet, your Bitcoin. However, as long as there is electricity and like telecommunication systems, they can't stop it. So if they want to shut everything down, that is fair. They could stop your Bitcoin, but other than that, they can't stop it. So do you guys see the power of that? How different that is from them just clicking a button and turn off your money,
Yeah.
right? And there's a big difference there because I mean, think about it. A lot of times people are like, oh, whatever. That guy wore plaid, that guy wore polka dot, and that's not in good taste. He should not have worn polka dot. So they should turn off his money. I'm fine with that. But then the next day, you're wearing stripes, and they go, you know what? Now we don't like stripes anymore. So now we're going to turn off the money for everybody who's wearing stripes. Are you still feeling so good about that? Probably not. So whatever can be done to somebody else can also be done to you. So that's why the centralization is very dangerous, especially for Africa, especially for diaspora. Okay. All right. So meme coins, speculation and community culture. So you got your meme coins, and meme coins are pretty much just that. They're just like doggy coin, frog coin, whatever. No real value. Sometimes I hear companies like when things are going good, they're like, hey, we're going to put a treasury and invest in this meme coin. And while I enjoy the meme coins, that's a very bad idea. Meme coins are just not worth a whole lot of anything. Okay. It's just not a great idea to put your value in meme coins. Again, not financial advice, but it's not a very good idea. Let's leave it at that. All right. So Bitcoin has never been hacked. It's never gone offline. It has never changed the supply cap. If I am somebody in South Africa, if I am somebody in Zimbabwe, if I am somebody in Egypt, if I am somebody in Thailand, if I'm somebody in the Philippines, I can set up a Bitcoin miner. I can mine. I can set up a wallet. I can receive and send Bitcoin. And really, nobody can actually physically stop me from doing it. Okay. I mean, the police could come in and say, oh, we're going to shut you down. They could do that. However, the bottom line is nobody can actually stop you from using Bitcoin. And that is why it's so powerful. And that is why the central banks we were talking about a little earlier don't like it, because they're like, we like to have the power. We like to be able to turn off your money when we want to turn it off. So the more people are using Bitcoin, it's the better for all of us, because the network gets stronger the more people use it. The more people use it and send it and mine it, the more powerful it gets. Mr. T, if you want to enter the contest, you can check with Flo on my team there, or Manuela or Priscilla. There's a form that you can fill out in the chat, and basically you can do the activities. You sign up for Solarium, there's a entry for that. And if you sign up for Patreon, there's an entry for that. If you share Patreon, there's an entry. And if you fund Solarium, there's an entry for that. So you can Flo or Priscilla or Manuela can help you with that. Okay. So the central banks do not like Bitcoin because it undermines their power, right? We had the war, and you can kind of feel however you want about, Ukraine or whatever, but, people were able to get money with Bitcoin there, and then other powers like, oh, well, you sanction, the Russian oligarchs, their accounts got shut down. And then other countries like Saudi Arabia, like, well, wait a minute, you can shut down our money too. So we don't like that, right? So a lot of people in China obviously doesn't like that. So a lot of people are like, well, we want other alternatives. So a lot of them are moving away from the dollar. Some of them are getting gold. Obviously, some of them obviously also have Bitcoin. But as individuals, we need to be thinking about that too, because we're very comfortable, especially those of us in the US. We're like, hey, the dollar, the dollar. And yes, the dollar is powerful, it's strong, it's good. I'm not saying it's not. But what I am telling you is that, and especially as we move to digital, it means that your money can be stopped just like that. And that is not a good thing for anybody. All right, cool. So all crypto liquidity flows from Bitcoin. So I've been doing these meetups now for 8, maybe 9 years. I don't know what it's been. It's been a while. I've been doing these meetups for a while. Okay. And I've seen all manner of projects. I've seen all manner of, different things. I try to be open to have everybody come in and talk about what they're doing. One thing that I can tell you is that the whole market goes up with Bitcoin. So institutional money, it goes to Bitcoin, the risk appetite, the market confidence of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin rises, everything goes. It goes in Ethereum, it goes in altcoins, everybody goes up. When Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down. And I've had several cycles in this market now. People are like, oh no, not my coin, not my coin. My coin is going to keep going up. Even if Bitcoin goes down, we don't like Bitcoin, but my coin is going to go up. And what pretty much always happens? What pretty much always happens? Bitcoin goes up. What do you think happens to their coin? If it's a decent coin,
It goes up.
it goes up. And when Bitcoin goes down, what do you think happens to their coin?
It goes down.
Goes down. And it's pretty much like the sun rising and setting every day. Like I said, I've seen whatever 2.5, 3 cycles now. Has not failed. It always happens, right? I always have somebody's like, oh no, my coin is gonna do this, gonna do. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything, but sun's still gonna set and rise. And that's pretty much what happens, right? And so when Bitcoin goes up, everything goes up. Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down. And I was having this discussion with somebody in our group. Chantel, if you want to enter the competition for the prize giveaway, you can just message Flo or Emanuela or Priscilla, and they will show you how to fill out the form and what to do. Okay. So when basically Bitcoin falls, the whole market's going to feel it. Is very much similar to the dollar. So Bitcoin and crypto is a crypto, where the dollar is a global finance, right? When the dollar, is affected, it's weaker. Everything like that 2009, 2008 financial crisis, everything else gets affected as well. And Bitcoin dominance has been 40, 60%, basically the dominant part of all of the crypto market. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, John, it's just another crypto. It's just not, it is not just another crypto. It basically is the digital asset market. It is the blockchain. It is the crypto market. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing that. Like, oh, no, no, there's this coin, that. But I'm telling you, go back and look at it yourself. Every time Bitcoin goes up, it controls the market goes up. Every time Bitcoin goes down, we always have these cycles, the whole market goes down, it goes up, right? So Bitcoin effectively is the market. And that is something that some people don't like me saying, like here, like, oh, no, don't say that. But it's the truth, right? That's what it is. And that's why I so passionate about the Bitcoin aspect, because Bitcoin is the new asset class. You can have a lot of other coins. I'm not against the other coins. That's fine. But Bitcoin is the asset class. And that if you don't remember anything else today, remember that. Bitcoin is the asset class. Okay. Governments can print currency and nobody can print Bitcoin, right? So because it's in the code, a lot of people like to say code is law. I think that's the saying they have, right? See, there's a saying code is law. Basically, the idea is that basically it's in the code. You have, whatever it is, probably millions of different programmers who've contributed to Bitcoin over the years. It's a shared, repository that everybody is a part of it. And so what basically happens is that everybody is in there working on that and agreeing, and it has to be agreed by, I forget what it is. I think it's like a majority or super majority of all the people working on the Bitcoin project and all the miners have to agree. So it's kind of like changing the US Constitution. It's not easy to change Bitcoin. And because of that, the 21 million supply does not get changed, right? It's always fixed. You always know how much. If you have one Bitcoin, you got a half a Bitcoin, you got a 0.1 Satoshi, which is like 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. It's always got the same value compared to that 21 million supply. On the other hand, the easy money, right? Easy money, no such thing as easy money. The easy money, which is fiat, right? Central banks create whenever they want. So they're like, you're the basketball player, said something you shouldn't have said. And they're like, okay, I'll pay you $1 million. They're like, dude, we don't want your money because we can just print more, right? And they're absolutely right. They can print as much of this as they ever want to print, and nobody's going to stop them, okay? Inflation erodes the purchasing power. So like we talked about, the childhood home, whatever that I had grown up in, is worth like 20 times what it was back then. It's not because the house got super valuable. It's because the dollar keeps losing its purchasing power. And if the dollar is losing purchasing power as the world reserve currency, you better believe that Zimbabwe's currency, the naira, even the British pound, are also losing their purchasing power too. You know, if anybody's in the UK, but you know, it's pricey to live every day, right? It's not cheap because the purchasing power keeps lessening. And then you have citizens bear the cost without consent. So a lot of people just hear inflation, inflation, like, oh yeah, inflation. But what inflation really means is you used to go to the market and you used to get your eggs for 99 cents. Now you go to the market and you get them for $6.99. Do you think over time that starts to hurt? Or you used to have a rent that was like, or a rent or a mortgage or whatever that was like $1,000, and now that same rent is like for the same place like $3,000. Do you think maybe that starts to hurt after a while? Yeah, that's pretty painful, isn't it? So it is definitely not making everybody's life easier. But the thing is, it's so quiet, right? And hopefully nobody gets offended by it, but there's a saying like, when a frog boils in water, it doesn't jump out because it's slowly, good question, Mr. T, it's slowly just turning the water up very slowly. So the frog never really knows it's getting hotter, okay? Until it's too late. And that's what they say, so it's to hop out. And that's what's happening to people and our money. We're like, oh, well, the gas used to be, or the petrol, if you're in UK or elsewhere, right? The gas used to cost $1.99 a gallon. Now it's $3.99. Now it's $5.99. If you're in California, it's like $8.99 or whatever it is, okay? And it just keeps going up. But you don't notice. You're like, oh, I just have to pay. I got to pay my gas, right? And Mr. T asks, well, how do we make it stop? Well, we actually cannot make it stop, Mr. T, because easy money is controlled by the central bank. It's not controlled by us. So the only way that we can make it stop is to use hard money, which would be the Bitcoin, right? That's why a lot of people are saying, you know what? Let me opt to plan B, Bitcoin. And if I go to the Bitcoin, now I can actually have control more over my money because they can't print more Bitcoin. They can't force me to, they can't force the value of it, even though they're gonna make a paper Bitcoin. Like, oh, here's some paper Bitcoin. Use this. Bitcoin stocks. We got Bitcoin equities. We got MicroStrategy stock. You got this. But the bottom line is, if you're going to use Bitcoin, I've got no problem with any of that stuff. Buy some real Bitcoin in your wallet, Bitcoin, and use it. That's why I like that Solarium initiative, because they use real Bitcoin, right? So it's a little tricky. I've some people having a hard time signing up sometimes. They're like, oh, it's kind of hard to sign up. But that's because you're sending real Bitcoin. It's a real address and it's real Bitcoin. It's not a piece of paper. It's not a stock certificate. It's not, and that's why we have these financial crises, because people keep on, and think about it this way, right? You got a kid on the block who has a lemonade stand. Really easy, right? So you sell lemonade, little girl, little boy, they're selling lemonade, they're making money, giving them money. But then somebody says, you know what? I can make this much easier. Let me give you a lemonade certificate, right? I'll go sell certificates to the whole neighborhood, and you guys just stand here, and they'll give me the value for the certificate, and then, I'll come back later, and I'll give them, say, if they want the lemonade, they can come get the lemonade. But then someone else goes, you know what? Those lemonade certificates are really cool, but, I think I'm going to borrow the value of the certificate, so we can get like all your lemonade inventory, and before you know it, the pieces of paper have nothing to do with the actual lemonade being sold. And that's what happens with gold. That's what happens with financial products, right? That's what happened with the mortgages, is it ends up where it has nothing to do with the actual underlying product or commodities. And that's why I tell you, and that's why I love what the Solarium is doing and what we're doing in our Bitcoin ownership initiative. Get real Bitcoin. Get your own Bitcoin. Don't just get some piece of paper that says it's Bitcoin. I have nothing against you getting some Bitcoin stocks and putting it in your retirement account. I've got nothing against you getting, a Bitcoin index fund. But please, please, please get some real Bitcoin and put it in your own personal real wallet. Because you know what happens in that lemonade scenario? If the lemonade, the guy who's got all the paper certificates, one day he's like, oh, you know what? I could get like 5 times the amount of certificates than they actually have lemonade. I get 10 times as much. What happens when people come back and go, okay, I want my lemonade now? And all those people that he gave certificates to want their lemonade. Are they going to be able to get their lemonade? I'll wait.
Well,
Nobody's getting their lemonade. You're going to be dry, have a pasty mouth because you're not getting lemonade. And that's how the financial system works. Okay? So that is what we call easy money. They're going to just keep printing certificates. And even with Bitcoin, they're trying to do the same thing. They are trying to give you all these certificates and stock and, hey, here's an index and here's that. Do not only get that. I don't care if you get it. That's fine. I've got some. But for goodness sakes, get some real Bitcoin and put it in your real wallet. Okay? Get some real Bitcoin, because if somebody comes like, oh, there was too much, we didn't have enough lemonade. What happens to the person who actually got a real glass of lemonade in their hand? Do they still have their lemonade?
Oh.
What's that?
I said no.
No, they do. And so if you went up to the
They do.
stand, if
Okay,
you went up to
sorry.
the stand and you actually got the real lemonade in your hand, you've got real lemonade, right? You got lemonade. So no matter how many pieces of paper that guy went around giving to everybody, you still got your lemonade, right? And that's the same thing with Bitcoin. Get yourself some real Bitcoin, because no matter how many pieces of paper they send around, you still got your real Bitcoin. That make sense? Gideon, welcome. If you want to join and enter the competition, the contest for the prize giveaway at the end, go ahead and contact Flo or Priscilla or Emanuela, and they'll help you to sign up on the form. You got to make sure that you sign up for Solarium, sign up for the Patreon, share the Patreon, and also fund the Solarium. Each one of those will enter you for one of the spins, okay? In Bitcoin, real Bitcoin. All right. So does that make sense? That Bitcoin is hard money. As Lynn Alden says, hard money preserves purchasing power over time. Fiat systems naturally expand. Bitcoin does not. It's not going to be inflating, Mr. T. To your point, it is going to stop because Bitcoin is not going to inflate. That's how we stop it. Any questions about that? Does that make sense? We'll see a little part here. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right. So Africa, let's talk about that. Africa's monetary challenge is Bitcoin was designed to solve. There is a great piece on this. I'm tempted to actually play a little bit of it because it's so good. Actually, let me finish my cereal part. The currency, Naira, CD, the pound, they're all going down. They're all losing value, right? It's not a question. It's happening. Capital controls limiting how much you can send or receive. I remember I was trying to send money. My dad was ill. We need to get money from Nigeria, get it sent for his medical care for weeks and weeks, months and months. Could not get it through the bank. Finally, thank God, we sent Bitcoin. And I was able to get it there. My sister, we were able to get what we needed like within a few, within a few minutes, really. So you have that hyperinflation, especially like if you're in Zimbabwe or some places, but it's happening everywhere. It's destroying the value of your savings. Like in some places like Zimbabwe, in the morning, the amount of money you could get to get some bread, by the time you get to a store, you can't buy any bread with it. 57% of adults in sub-Saharan Africa are unbanked, right? So it's just you don't have any banking at all. And remittance fees are 8 to 7% every transfer. And I think that's low. I think like Western Union is actually more than that. I remember we used to have, like when we were in Asia, we had somebody, it was like our nanny, and she used to send money home, and I think she spent like 20% on fees, but I could be wrong. So Bitcoin, on the other hand, is permissionless. It means you need no bank account. All you have to do is set up a wallet. And if you're going to fund your Solarium account, you can do that right now. Set up a wallet and connect it. Okay. Global payments, which means that I can send it to somebody in Ghana. I can send it to somebody in the Philippines. I can send it to somebody in Singapore. Like that. Somebody else in America. Like that. There is no, now I am telling everybody, obey your local laws. I'm not telling anybody not to do that, but there is no physical thing stopping you from sending Bitcoin. Nothing. Okay. If you have electricity, internet connection, Or even there's now a way that there was an African young man who learned how to do it even without being online, and it just connects like to a cellular point, and then it will send your transaction later. So all you need basically is a phone and electricity. Savings outside local inflation. So you don't have to worry about the Naira going down from like when I was a kid, which is whatever it was, like I said, like 12 to $1 or something, to wherever it is now. The Precious said like 1,800 or whatever it is, right? You don't have to worry about that. Full ownership without asking anyone's permission. And this is really important because, again, I mean, I believe, if many of you know, I do the Great Moments Africa history series and channel, which is, pretty popular in its own right. But I believe that one of the big gates is there's another guy who talks about this home team history. I like his stuff. That Africa really left open that caused a lot of the current condition of things is that Africa became dependent on Western money, right? Because Africa has lots of gold and diamonds and minerals and, you name it. Africa has everything. But Africa became dependent on Western money. First it was the colonial money from the British or the French, and then later on the dollar. And because of that, basically you no longer can buy or sell anything unless the West tells you can do it or gives you the money. So full ownership without asking anybody's permission is a really big deal, right? So now you can take the Bitcoin and you can send the Bitcoin, you can own the Bitcoin, and nobody can stop you from doing that. You just send it, right? Do I need to ask the bank? Do I need to ask the president? Do I need to ask? No, I just send the Bitcoin. And I think this is really important. And this is really a big one on my heart because I have nothing against working with the governments and everything. And I hope the governments do a great job. Okay. I'm talking about African governments now. However, I know that the African government's primary thing is to make sure that they are working with basically the West or working with China. So they want to make sure the country is connected to them. It is a much lower priority to make sure that every regular person is able to do transactions or able to save their money. Okay. So that's really on your own responsibility as an individual to do that. And that's why I love Bitcoin, because you can take responsibility for your own money. You can take responsibility for your own savings. You can take responsibility for your own ability to transfer. You don't have to wait for the government to go, oh, I think now we'll see if we can do something for you. Okay. And Nigeria, I know better than others. Okay. Nigeria tried to ban Bitcoin. I believe it was 3 times. Precious, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think it was 2 or 3 times. Okay. Does anybody know what happened in Nigeria during that time while Nigeria attempted to ban Bitcoin 2 or 3 times? Any guesses? Precious, I'm sure you know.
It did impact the Naira.
Funny enough,
Sorry, Mr. C, Precious, what did you say?
I said, funny enough, I don't know, but I know they've tried it a couple of times, but I don't know why.
Okay, Mr. T, what did you say?
I was asking if it impacted the Naira. If it
the Naira just keeps going down, sir. that part, regardless of what happens, the Naira just keeps going down. But that's really more related to a dollar. It's not so much related to Bitcoin. So what happened is basically they attempted to ban it multiple times, and Nigeria became the second largest market after the US in the world for Bitcoin. Anybody have an idea why that would happen? So the government's like, you cannot use it. And everybody's like, you know what? We're not only going to use it, we're going to use it more than anybody in the world besides the United States. Why would that happen? Any guess why would that happen?
voodoo confidence for the government.
Yeah, people are not confident in the government. They're like, we don't really trust you. So if you're saying not to use this, I think maybe I'm going to use it, right? And that's unfortunate, but that's what happened, right? So they tried 2 or 3 times, and every time they got more people using Bitcoin, not less. And then they also tried to do an e-Naira, like the Chinese central bank digital currency, which I think are terrible. Just just my opinion. Okay. Which is like a completely government controlled token, and nobody used that. And people were very smart because I would not want the government controlling my money like that either. Right. So Bitcoin just kept going up because people realized this is full ownership, it's hard money, and I can use it permissionless. And while my Naira is going through the floor and even the dollar is losing its value, my Bitcoin is doing okay. Right. So yes, people go, oh, we're not to 100, now it's down to 60. Again, I was talking with that family member back, 10, 12 years ago. And back then, Bitcoin was like $10 or $100. And would I have been sad if I would have bought some Bitcoin at $10 or $100? Would any of you have
Not
been
at
sad?
all.
No, not at all. Not there. I wish I had. I wish I had. I wish I would not have laughed. I wish I would have bought it. Okay? So that is the bottom line. And I think the same conversations are going to be had in years to come. Because again, institutions and governments do not amass and buy something that is worthless. They don't do it. They don't have all these economists and calculations and all of that just to get something that's going to be worth nothing. So I really want you guys to keep that in your mind. Okay. So Diaspora sends 100 billion home to Africa every year. Bitcoin makes that cheaper, faster, and freer, right? So we can connect it, you can send money home. Like the situation I had with my dad, we need to get money, from Nigeria, we need to get that done. It's easy, no fees, no, a bunch of paperwork and forms, you just send it. Cross-border business, I can send it to any country I want, Lagos, Accra, and Nairobi. I can send it to, Kingston, Jamaica. I can send it to someone in Canada, anywhere I want to go. Generational wealth, hold the asset. It cannot be inflated away. So my strong suggestion, not financial advice, is once you get it, let's say you're using Solarium and you get your Solarium wallet or whatever wallet you do, you just purchase dollar cost average, just buy it off an exchange. Doesn't matter. However you get your Bitcoin, once you've got that Bitcoin, hold it. Don't sell it. There are platforms like Aave, a lot of other ones, Lendon, where you can actually lend out your Bitcoin, some DeFi, so you don't even have to be in any particular country, right? And what you can do, you can either get you can swap it for what's called a wrap Bitcoin, WBTC. You can use a wrap Bitcoin, or you can just keep your Bitcoin on some platforms, it's just the regular Bitcoin. And what that means is just what the wealthy do. So when Bitcoin goes up to 1 million, which I truly believe it will, okay? When it goes up to 1 million, instead of having sold your Bitcoin, you still have your Bitcoin. Does that put you in a better position or a worse position? So if you got your Bitcoin today, it's like 65,000. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, by the way. But let's say you got some Bitcoin today and it goes up to 1 million and you're still holding it, but you took a loan or you borrowed against it. Is that good for you or is that bad for you? Great. Absolutely, Gideon. It's great, right? So you had 65K, right? 65,000. All of a sudden you got 1 million. You could borrow more if you want, and you just keep it. And this is what the rich actually do. They call it, basically acquire, borrow, and pass away, for lack of a better word. Okay. So that is what the wealthy do. So they are never going to give up their assets. They're going to keep them. They're going to borrow against them, and they're going to keep doing it because the assets keep going up in value, which means you have more and more wealth. And not only that, you don't have to pay taxes on money that you borrow, where you have to pay taxes on anything when you sell it, right? So this is what the way the wealthy do it. They absolutely are not, oh, let me just sell it because it went up, 10%. They're not going to do it. Right? Generational wealth, hold it. Connecting continents, diaspora and the continent, united by a shared financial network. Like I said, it's permissionless, which means that finally, you don't have to ask permission to send money to your cousin, to send money to your mom, to send money to a friend who, who's doing a business and you want to help them. You can just send the Bitcoin. You're good to go, right? And yes, you can send US dollar stable coins. Yes, you can send other cryptocurrencies. But like I said, even though not highly likely at the moment, it definitely could come a time where they decide, you know what? We're going to push the button and stop that from working. And if they do that, there's really nothing you can do about it. Okay. But with Bitcoin, they really can't do that to you. So the African diaspora is one of the most powerful economic forces on earth. Bitcoin gives the power of financial infrastructure. And you can look at China for a good example of this. China, 50 years ago, China was doing worse financially than a lot of Africa's nations. Okay. But what China did is they called out the diaspora, like, we need to come, you need to help us, you need to do knowledge transfer, you need to help our home country. And they did. And obviously China is, one of the dominant superpowers in the world today. So Africa's diaspora can definitely do the same thing. And Bitcoin enables that from a financial perspective. It allows us to actually be able to economically exchange with each other without having to do a bunch of forms and permissions and I didn't get a bank account, I can't get this transfer. It's just easy. So this is a really big deal for us. Okay. Bitcoin has no off switch, no CEO, no headquarters, and no government owns it. It runs 24/7, 365 days a year. Okay. Every country on earth it operates simultaneously, unless, like somebody was saying earlier, the power goes out completely, you're good. It's going to work. It has no central server that can be shut down, so nobody can go knock, 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 shut down that Bitcoin server. You can't shut it down because it's everywhere. And if one gets turned off, you can turn off 15 more in other places. It doesn't, you turn them on elsewhere. There's nothing that stops it like that. It's just completely decentralized. No executive. So nobody can go and pressure and go, we're gonna press charges if you don't turn off the Bitcoin network. There's no executive. Who are you gonna tell? You can't stop them. It has no headquarters, right? So you're gonna go, oh, we're raiding Bitcoin headquarters. If someone wants to go raid Bitcoin headquarters, where are they gonna go and raid the Bitcoin headquarters? Anybody tell me where they're gonna go to raid it? Anybody know where we're gonna go raid Bitcoin headquarters? Is it in France? The miners? Okay, so let's go with that, Mr. T. Let's say that we want to go ahead and shut down the miners, okay? So where would you go first? Where would you go and shut down the miners first? Which miners would you shut down? All right, so we're shutting down the miners. We're going to try to shut down the network that way. Which miners do you shut down first to shut it down? Start with the largest. Okay, so let's say that you get, and hopefully not, but let's say that you get the US miners, which are probably the largest today. So you shut them down. Does that mean that Turkey and Ghana and the steppes of Asia, which is the Stan countries, and Southeast Asia and Australia are not still mining? They're probably still mining, right? And even if the country itself, the government usually isn't mining, individuals in those countries are probably still mining. So you shut off everything in the US, God forbid, hopefully it never happens, but you shut off everything in the US. Does that stop the Bitcoin network? It is resilient. Yes, it is resilient, Mr. T. So it is decentralized, and this is why it's so powerful. I mean, if you think about a lot of the movements for like civil rights and end of colonialism and things like that, a lot of times what happens is usually the one leader basically ends up being taken out. So like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, or even though once Nelson Mandela did become president, nonetheless, when that one leader is gone, that's kind of the end of the movement. But Bitcoin is not like that because it's decentralized everywhere. Everybody can access it, right? So that is so much more powerful because you can't just shut it down like that. Unless, like I think it was Cecile or Chantal, you said earlier, unless all the power in the world goes off. And obviously, if all the power in the world goes off, you have much bigger problems than Bitcoin. That's the least of your problems, right? So one person. So Flo is saying that you guys, folks, have not filled out the form. If you want to enter the competition, please let me just show you that form again. Actually, I don't know if I can show you the form. It's not pulling up for me, but there is a form. Flo, can you put that form back into the chat, please, for everybody again? Can you reshare that in the chat? So if you want to be in the spin for the prizes at the end, I think we only have like one in each category right now. Fill out the form there. And if you're having a problem with it, contact Flo or Emanuela or Priscilla on my team. Welcome, who just joined there. Techno, welcome. And you can fill out that form and then just join, register on the Solarium link. And if you can add the Solarium link, my Solarium link in there, Flo, and also add the Patreon link. So if you sign up on Patreon, if you join on Ethereum, each one of those is worth a spin for in joining helping the community initiative we're doing. And then if you share the Patreon, and that you can join Patreon for free, you don't have to pay for that. And then if you fund the Solarium, there's another spin. So I think it's $5, $5, $10, $20 of Bitcoin. And those will be in Bitcoin, so be ready with a Bitcoin wallet to receive it. Okay. So if you have not done that yet, please do that while we're having our little conversation. But yes, Mr. T, going back to what you said, it is absolutely resilient. Okay. And that again is why, the central banks don't like it, because we're going to shut it down. But can they really shut it down? Can they really shut it down? And I remember having these conversations, right? I remember I was in a group back when I was based in Singapore. It's a financial group, and a lot of people are really deeply into banking and everything. And there's this guy, he's like, yes, he was a big expert in finances, and he apparently did not like Bitcoin at all, right? So we were having this debate about it, and like, yeah, and I don't remember what he called it, but he's like, it's like if some ninja came in and they brought in Bitcoin, and he was so upset because, basically it like democratized these financial things that were supposed to only be for a few people. And I remember I ended up not being in that group anymore because, they were so upset. They were very unhappy that Bitcoin was actually, working, and that it was working for people. So that should tell you something, right? So a lot of the powers that be are not crazy about Bitcoin because it empowers you, because it gives regular people the same financial access that has only been limited to a very elite few for a long time. So Bitcoin is a powerful, and especially for African diaspora. Okay? So Bitcoin is the first truly global neutral monetary network. Andreas Antonopoulos, again, you'll see the book later. I love his books. He's really good. It's not controlled by the United States, China, the EU, the IMF, the World Bank. None of them control it. And that is a very powerful thing, especially for Africa, especially for diaspora. Silicon Savannah, whatever we're looking at there. Yeah. The price is a distraction. Now, do I not care about price? No, I'd be a liar to say I don't care about price. I do invest in it, and I use it, so obviously I care about price, but I do not spend every day obsessing over what the price is. Like, is it 50, 100? You don't spend all your time. Believe me, the institutions don't do that. They'll push the price down so they can get more, but they are not obsessing about price, right? So the time preference civilization advances when people can save. This is another book I've got to actually read, The Bitcoin Standard. And the price is a distraction from ownership freedom. So ownership, do you have the hard money that cannot be inflated? Do you hold your Bitcoin in your wallet? Yes. Check. That's awesome. Freedom. Can you move your wealth across borders without permission? Well, if you have Bitcoin, yes, you can. If you have dollars or other things, maybe you can't. Okay. Access. Are you participating in future financial system? Yes, again, the whole financial system is going digital. I don't care if you even keep your money in a bank account. Almost everything is still digital, right? So digital money is not new in that respect, and it's definitely not like, oh, this is something we've never heard of. Use a credit card, use a bank account, use Cash App, use PayPal. It's all digital money. Okay? Savings. Are you building long-term purchasing power? So if you are holding on to dollars, probably not, because your dollars are worth less every year. If you're holding on to Naira, nope. If you're holding on to Zimbabwe's currency, definitely not, because that they walk around with bags. I was surprised. I have a friend there in Zimbabwe, and she's saying, look, it's, all we have is basically just bags of physical dollars. That's how everybody keeps their money, because they know that the local currency isn't worth anything. Most people don't have a lot of gold or anything like that. It's also dangerous to have a lot of gold. So basically, you give me a bag of physical dollar currency, and that's what people use. Okay. So Bitcoin solves this problem for you. Owning Bitcoin on exchange is not the same as owning Bitcoin. So again, we talked about it. If it's on the exchange, we have a saying in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, it's not your keys, it's not your coins. Meaning that if you do not own those keys, which is basically, it's a phrase, right? Usually like 12 words or 24 words or something like that. And there's other ways now. If you don't own that yourself, it's not actually your Bitcoin. That Coinbase or Binance, they could shut off the website at any time. I think it actually happened to one of my team members. He's not out at the moment. And if it happens, then you can't access your money, right? So if it's not your keys, it's not your coins. So exchanges, you have to trust some company. They could freeze it. It could be hacked. They could, not give you access to their website anymore. or a software wallet where you hold your keys on your phone or computer. So now it's on your phone or computer. That's better. But if it is a software wallet, it still has a more chance of being hacked. And then the hardware wallet, which you can see some examples here, the Ledger, the Trezor. I really like the Tangem, which is like a card. Looks like a card. Those are yours. They're offline, and that is only your currency, right? So your Bitcoin. It's a good idea to have one if you don't already have one. I think we have some links for them later or on the Telegram group, which you can go to and check that out. We have some of the different affiliate links for those as well, I think, and also on Amazon. The goal of Bitcoin Ownership Initiative is to help community members to move towards true self-custody and ownership. You don't have to start by self-custodying it yourself, but it's a really good idea. Like we were talking about with the lemonade stand, have that glass of lemonade in your own hand. So no matter how much shenanigans people do with paper, I got a certificate, I've got this, I've got that, you still have your glass in your hand. Queen, you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to know, can I still use Treasure Say 5? It's a
I
hardware wallet.
I don't think that they've expired them. I don't know what their latest version is, but I don't
It's
think that they.
7, but I want to use Say 5.
Why do you want to use Fine?
Uh, I don't know. I just well, I can't afford 7 right now. So that's why I'm asking if I can use Say 5.
Yeah, as long as it's like a currently supported product, you should be fine.
It's on the
But
website. Yeah,
yeah,
Treasure
yeah, you should be
website.
fine. You should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, so you may not start. You can start on an exchange. That's not a problem. You have some Bitcoin on Coinbase or Binance or Kraken or whatever, right? No problem. Later on, I'd say get a software wallet like Trust Wallet or MetaMask or one of those. Exodus I like as well. But ultimately, what you really want is your hardware wallet because that makes it offline and it makes it a whole lot more secure. So as long as you don't give anybody your passphrase, your private key, it's just yours. Okay. All right. Every Bitcoin owner goes through the same journey, and we're here to walk through it with you. So you learn about Bitcoin, understand what Bitcoin is and why it exists, right? That's what we're talking about today is, this is really the only true hard money at this point. Even gold, you can dig up more, even though gold's good, but even gold, you can dig up more, and it's very hard to carry it with you. Okay? You can acquire your first Satoshis. So Satoshi's 1/100 millionth, I believe, of a Bitcoin, right? And however small, you get a little bit. You don't have to get a lot. You get $10. I'm going to be giving away some Bitcoin shortly, $5 worth of Bitcoin, $10. You don't have to have a whole Bitcoin. You can just get a little bit. That's fine. Secure. Move towards self-custody and holding your own keys. Okay. So move towards self-custody and holding your own keys, having that hardware wallet of your own. So you're holding your own glass of lemonade, basically, and nobody's able to take your lemonade. And build stack sats consistently, think in decades, not days, right? So you're constantly stacking those sats. You are constantly, building up more Bitcoin ownership, right? And you're always doing that. So that's exactly why we created the Bitcoin Ownership Initiative, is to make sure that you guys actually know about it and you're telling other people about it. And again, one of our pilots is a Solarium one because I really love they're using real Bitcoin, real wallets, which is why it resonated with me. And people are getting real Bitcoin in their own hand. It's a little harder, right, to set it up because, you got to figure it out, to actually do it yourself. But Flo, Priscilla, I think on my team, you guys both set up and funded and used one of the wallets to do with Bitcoin. Can one of you maybe just like say your experience? Was it how hard it was? Was it super difficult? Was it fairly easy to figure out to do it? To get your own Bitcoin into the wallet and to use it with Solarium?
I think it was to understand the steps and to navigate the Solarium dashboard and buy the package. For me, I found it easy.
She thought it was pretty easy. Priscilla, what about for you?
For me also, it sounds easy. It was not hard for me, so it's good for me.
Yeah. So that's basically the process of getting your Bitcoin from your wallet, in case Solarium, putting it in the Solarium wallet to start using it there, getting the affiliate, bonuses from Bitcoin. But the key is that it's your wallet, it's your Bitcoin. It's not an exchange. It's not a piece of paper. It's your actual real physical Bitcoin. Okay. So our key thing here is education first, always community, and ownership over time. And the reason we're doing this initiative is too many people hear about Bitcoin through hype and speculation. Like, it's up. Oh, I'm going to buy some. It's down. Oh, I hate it. Right? It's up. Oh, I'm in. I like it. It's down. I can't stand it anymore. Or even worse, if people were like, oh, it's only used for crime. It's only used for crime. I can assure you that the dollar is used a lot more for crime than Bitcoin. Right? But too few people in our community understand the fundamentals, right? So just how do you send and receive Bitcoin? I do not overstate it when I say it could at some point in the future save your life, right? Maybe you really need money. Like I remember there's like some women who were, I think it was like Afghanistan or something, who really needed, money sent to them because, they weren't cooperating with like repressive kind of government situation. And the only way that this humanitarian organization could get them money was to send them the Bitcoin. Or also I think in Ukraine, the same thing happened. Yeah? So it really could save your life at some point to be able to actually physically understand and know how to send, not go to exchange, not go to Binance, but actually have your own wallet and send your own Bitcoin. Financial education is a form of community empowerment, right? And we talk about each one, teach one. That's why I love this Ethereum initiative as well. My vision for this one is that we have a bunch of people across the African diaspora who may not be acquiring any Bitcoin right now, but everybody tells people about it. And as they sign up, they're going to get rewards in Bitcoin. And we find 1 million, 2 million, 5 million people who all have some Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin, and I believe it will, hits $1 million, it's $2 million, you all have some Bitcoin and your family is blessed and benefits and you benefit because you did this, right? So that financial education and participation, very key. And ownership, even a small amount. So let's say that today you have $10 or $100 of Bitcoin, right? And let's say that it goes up, like I said, to 1 million, which would be like whatever, that's like a 10, like 15x, okay? So that $100 to me for $1,500. And as I talked about, you don't even have to sell it. You can borrow against it, take a loan against it, and you can just keep it pretty much forever. So ownership is very powerful. So our pillars is number one, education, learn together, no judgment, no question is silly, ask and learn. Community, grow together and share knowledge. That's part of our, we'll do on our Patreon, we do on our Telegram and our meetup groups, and just the broader community. And you can also sign up on Facebook pages and stuff like that. We're always communicating about this stuff. Ownership, build real Bitcoin holdings. So not just a piece of paper, not just like a Bitcoin stock. I have nothing against Bitcoin stocks. I have nothing against like an index fund. I have nothing against any of that. But make sure somewhere in that you actually have real Bitcoin in a real wallet that belongs to you and you own the keys. Okay? Not some government or some website or Coinbase owns it. You own it. Okay? Because then, except for some very extreme conditions, nobody can really take that from you. One practical way community members can start building Bitcoin ownership, right? We're testing the Solarium community pilot, as we talked about. So a platform allows members to earn affiliate bonuses paid in Bitcoin. You can accumulate Bitcoin through participation, and you can learn together in low-risk education environment about basically, about Bitcoin and how it works. And I think one of the inspirations behind Solarium, which is what Lynette presented about it last month, sorry, was basically to help people. They call it, from ancient salt to digital gold, meaning that back in the old days, like the Roman troops would go around and they would carry salt with them. And salt was actually a form of currency throughout Africa and a lot of other places as well. So salt was super valuable. And now that's where you get the term salary. In fact, Lynette, maybe you can just explain the ancient salt to digital gold with that saying, if you could. You there, Lynette? And welcome, whoever joined there. Put me now. All right, she may not be there at the moment. So the idea behind it is that that's where we get the term salary, right? Your salary that you get paid if you work on a regular type job, it comes from that idea, that ancient idea of salt that they used to give the Roman soldiers. So they would get their so their salary, right? And that was where they would get the value because they could store and keep their food fresh. They could do a lot of things with the salt. It was very valuable. You could trade with salt, etc. And so now Bitcoin is very much like that modern kind of salt, right? That modern wealth that can be shared and used anywhere, exchanged with anybody. So learn together, a low risk and educational environment, right? And basically, as you tell more people about it, they're going to learn about Bitcoin. And every time people sign up for it and they fund it, you will also get rewarded as they get rewarded as well, which is great for you and great for them. Okay. So this is one tool. It's not the only path. We're going to be doing a lot of things in our Bitcoin ownership initiative because we want people to continue to learn about Bitcoin and to really understand it, because I think this is critical for the future of African diaspora. Because, the Western financial system is not made for African diaspora. China's financial system they're creating is not made for African diaspora. We need to make our own, right? And this is certainly a very strong element that we can use to do that. So join our Telegram community. There's a QR code for the Telegram community here. You can join on Patreon, right? And again, if you join on Patreon, that will enter you for one of the drawings in the competition, as well as if you share the Patreon, that's another drawing we're doing as well. And then you can join and sign up on Solarium. As you sign up on Solarium, then you will also be entered for one of the drawings. And if you fund the Solarium wallet with Bitcoin or USDC, then you're also going to be, we'll also do another drawing for that, another spin for that. Okay? Education always comes first because we want you to really understand what it is that we're doing and why we're doing this. This is not only, obviously it's a catchy, nice little way for people to earn a little extra Bitcoin, but we really want you to get, why we're doing it and hopefully to build some Bitcoin assets for reserves for your future, for your family's future. All right, so there are many ways to be part of the community. Start wherever you are. These are the book recommendations. The Bitcoin Standard, Broken Money by Lynn Alden, Mastering Bitcoin. You can find them here. Stay connected in our Telegram community. Join us on Patreon. Attend the future meetups. You guys are already here, so if you know what the meetup links are, on meetup.com. Read the Bitcoin Standard. I've not read this one yet, but I have read Broken Money and Mastering Bitcoin, and also the Internet of Money, which is really good. Start owning. Get your first Satoshis responsibly. Become part of this Solarium pilot if you'd like to do that we're doing right now. And secure your Bitcoin. So hardware wallets like Trezor, which is good. There's also Ledger. There's also Tangem and a lot of other ones. Make sure anytime, by the way, that you get a hardware wallet for your Bitcoin for any digital asset, get it directly from the company. Don't get it like secondhand from somebody else, because if you do, there's a good chance you're going to get hacked. It's only secure if you get it directly from the company. So don't go get like a used wallet from somebody else. Okay? So you don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can start with $10. The goal is to start. All right, so Flo, I don't know how many people are signed up or registered. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and see who we have signed up so we can do hopefully some spins. I'm not sure how many people get it, so give me a moment. All right. Let's see. Solarium dashboard. All right, so we have 6 people on call. Chantel is there. So you have Chantel on the wheel, Flo?
No, from the Google Forms, I only have Richard.
Okay, so if you can add Chantel, she joined on Solarium. She registered. And Richard. Richard also registered on the Solarium. And anybody else who has not done so, you still can do it now. Okay. So we have Richard and we have Chantel. I don't think Arisha Kemet is here. If you are, let me know. Nikki, I don't think is here. Manuel's on my team. Mishma's on my team. Okay, so You should have on the wheel for the Solarium one, Chantel, and you should have Richard and anybody else who wants to sign up now. While I'm tallying it, please sign up now. You can still be registered to get to win that spin. I'm going to take a look and see who we have on our Patreon. Let's see who's on Patreon. All right. Here. And again, Flo, if you can put those links back in the, yeah, thanks. So you guys can sign up now and you can still enter for either one of those. I'm going to see who we have on Patreon. Give me a moment here.
Hey, John, I'm sorry, I am back too. I had a little bit of
Okay.
glitch in my system here.
All right.
I was actually doing a sign up with Solarium. So
Okay.
as we were
Cool.
speaking.
All right. Cool. I was telling people, we had somebody who just joined, Killy. Who was that? Sorry. Is that somebody here, Killy? On Patreon? Is that anybody here? Killy? That is your sister. Oh, cool. Okay.
She's finishing the process.
Okay, so I guess she's not on, but Keely, you can add Keely to the wheel for the Patreon, for signing up on Patreon. Okay. And then let me see if there's anybody else who signed up. What I was asking Lynette was if you could explain from, salt to digital gold or digital wealth, whatever the Solarium, if you could explain that to people.
Oh, with Solarium. Yeah, sure. So as you know, salary, the word salary comes from the Latin word salarium, which originated from the Latin word for salt. So salt was like back then it was very valuable. It was a very valuable commodity. And salt is used even now to preserve food and things of that nature, which eventually evolved into the modern term for financial compensation. So now we're going from, salt to salary, which discusses their monthly allowance, which was called back then actually was salarium. So salaire was a French word, and then it eventually made it to the English language as the word salary. So that's what we're getting from salt. Really look at it from salt to salary, because salt was considered very, 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 very valuable commodity back then as well, to preserve a lot. So I thought that was really, really good, how that came together. So with this solarium, guys, like as John is stating, I mean, what better way to get Bitcoin straight to your wallet instantly, right? Build and automate and earn and DCA, which is the most important thing. That way you're not having to, and we talk about DCAing, regardless of the price, that's the best strategy. That way you're not timing the markets. You're not staring at charts all day, trying to you can just let it keep going into your wallet. John will tell you, since we all been there, it's amazing to sit back and watch. I'm getting bings on my phone. Hey, you've earned Bitcoin, right? You got Bitcoin right to your wallet. And like I said, I'm not touching that. I'm just going to let it keep building. We have people in the community even now that have earned well over 41,000 or more dollars just in Bitcoin, right? That says a lot. And then right now, while the price is low, best time, because we got to get into that mindset when it's red, or we call blood in the streets. That's the best time to buy. The hardest part for people to do is when it's green, to take profits. But in this case, it's a long-term play. So you really don't want to think about moving or taking profits with this. You can utilize it, and like you said, you can borrow against it. I'm not giving financial advice, but great tax strategies where you can save on taxes and things of that nature by borrowing against your Bitcoin. So Bitcoin that's the reserve currency. That's why a lot of banks now are taking advantage of this. A lot of banks are now owning the rails when it comes to this blockchain. So it's important at this point to take advantage of this technology. Don't be afraid of it because it's easy to resist new technology. It's so easy to when you don't fully understand it. People dismiss e-commerce. People said that we wouldn't be buying products online. People said we wouldn't be, thought we were going to be using VHSs and Blockbuster, and now we got Netflix. You use your cell phone like it's nothing, just pick it up. Now we're going through a transition with our monetary system. So take advantage now, because please believe these banks are already on board with this, and they are not playing. So our goal is we want to run parallel to what they're doing. Be in position, be prepared, because they already got a plan for people who don't want to control the narrative. So again, we want to control the narrative when it comes to our wealth. We want to be the owner, because like I said, when you own the bank, then you can eliminate your dependence on it. So that's what I really got out of our presentation today, John. It was amazing. Just own the bank. You control the narrative. The same way they can feed you is the same way they can starve you. So we got to make sure that we're controlling the narrative, putting ourselves in position to really utilize this technology to benefit us and learn about ownership, because it's really what it's about at the end of the day is ownership.
Okay. Yep. So we've got you guys got the last minute here to sign up on the prizes. Let's see, for Patreon, you should have Keely on there. Anybody can still sign up for Patreon if you want. It's free to do that. Keely, and you also have Afi Blankson as well. I'm sure I've got your name correct on there. So that would be for Patreon. If anybody has shared it, you can also be in. So all you got to do is just share it and just give us a screenshot. You can even put it into the chat or whatever it is, or share it on social media, and that will add you that spin. I don't think has anybody done the share flow?
Pardon?
Has anybody shared it? Shared the Patreon?
Not yet.
Okay, so if anybody does that, you're like an instant winner because you'd be the only one. So you literally, if you share the Patreon with somebody and show us that you did, you pretty much are going to win that one. All right. And then if anybody funds it. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do our little spin the wheel thing here. You have Flo, you have the people for each one of them now. We got two of them, I guess, that are, and like I said, if anybody shares it or funds it, you pretty much going to automatically win that one. But we'll start with the Solarium registration spin. So do you want to share your screen, Flo, or do I need to do the wheel? How do we can do that? You're on mute there, Flo.
I can share.
Okay, you're gonna share. I think are you a co-host? Let me see if I got you. Yeah, you should be able to share. Go ahead. So the first one will be for the Solarium, which is $5 a Bitcoin. Are you sharing, Flo? All right, so we got
Can you see the
Chantel.
screen?
Yep, you can see it. Richard, Rodney, and Keely. And this is going to be for the $5 of Bitcoin for joining the Solarium and registering for it. So let's go ahead and give it a spin. And our winner is Chantel. Good. All right. So Chantel, if you can, yep. So that's $5 of Bitcoin for joining on the Solarium. And Chantel, if you can just send me your Bitcoin address. It was Chantel, right? Okay, so that's a different wheel. I was like, what? Okay, so Chantel, if you can send your Bitcoin address, you can send it to, in fact, do me a favor. If you want to just message it over to Flo, I will get it from her. Okay?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Congratulations, Chantel. Kind of a little clap
Thank you.
thing, but yeah, congratulations.
Cool.
All right, so now you got a 50-50 shot here. We got Afi and Kili. This one is for the registering on the Patreon. Okay, so 50-50 shot here. There's another one. It's $5 more Bitcoin. And let's give it a spin. Stop. Okay. It looks like Afi won the $5 of Bitcoin for joining up on the Patreon. So Afi, congratulations. And if you can please send your Bitcoin address to Flo in the chat, I will get it from her to send you Bitcoin. I'll need your Bitcoin address, obviously your name, and give me like an email address or someplace we can contact you as well to make sure we get it to you, okay? And Chantal for you also. Okay, so we only did a couple there, so I feel like doing a few more spins. So let's see what is something easy that we can do that would well, we can do maybe another spin here. So we did the one for the Patreon, we did the one for Solarium. Everybody signed up on those. Thank you for doing that. Okay, let's try this. If anybody basically just shares the meetup, right? So share the meetup, our meetup event, share the meetup group with anybody. I'll give you guys like 5 minutes to do it. Just share it on any social media and then just send a message in the chat letting us know that you shared and like show us like you can tag us or you can just show us like a little screenshot of it and we'll do a $10 of Bitcoin giveaway for that. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys like 5 minutes. Just share, very easy. Share the link with anybody, right? Share the link for the meetup, on social media. You can share it on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. It doesn't matter, whoever you want. And then just give us like either a screenshot or show us, and Flo will put you in and we'll spin for another $10 of Bitcoin. Okay. So go ahead, take a shot, do that now, and I will wait and give you guys a few minutes. I don't know if we have any like Jeopardy waiting music, but nonetheless. All right, so we'll do a $10 spin for anybody who shares a meetup. And also if you share either Patreon as well, or if you share the Solarium, we'll also do the same thing. So any social media share for any of those, we will then enter you for $10 of Bitcoin drawing. Okay. So $10 Bitcoin drawing for anyone who does that share, and it just gives us the evidence that you have shared that. Or give that to Flo. Okay. And Flo, if you want to just kind of load up the wheel at any social media share, any platform. You can share the Solarium, you can share the Patreon, or you can share the meetup group. All right, who's that? And there we go. M16 Pro. So we just join back in there. That. Somebody join in there. All right, so any social media share, just show us that you did it, and we will enter you for the $10. We'll do a $10 spin for Bitcoin for that one. A few more minutes here. You can do it on Instagram, you can do it on TikTok, you can do it on LinkedIn, whatever platform you use. I'll use Snapchat, I guess we could use that. Whatever one you want to, just share it and just give us either like a screenshot or something to show that you did share it or tag us or something like that. We'll give it a couple more minutes. You to share.
Hey, John.
Yes.
There is a Super Saturday training today for Solarium. It starts at noon. I'll throw it in the chat.
Okay.
Just to kind of,
sounds good.
Know what's going on as well. Yep.
All right, great. So if anybody wants to join the training to find out more about how to set everything up and how it works and ask questions, Lynette put that in the chat if you were doing the Solarium one. Okay. So it'll take about another minute or two for any social media share, and then we'll spin the wheel so you get the $10 of Bitcoin for that one. Super easy. Super easy one to win. So all you gotta do is just share the meetup group, or you can share the Patreon or share the Solarium link, affiliate link. And if you share it, just show us that you did and you're good to go. And obviously, if only one person did it, then I guess you're an automatic winner. Oh, that reminds me as well. We have a Telegram group. I'll share that. I'll give you guys a link for that. The Telegram group, for anybody who has joined to do Solarium, we have a Telegram group for it. So I'm going to give you guys a link to that. And you can use that to also get all the latest. Lynette gives updates there. I give updates there on our Bitcoin ownership initiative and the Solarium specifically. So I'm going to put that into the chat so you guys are able to join the Bitcoin ownership initiative on Telegram. So let me grab the link here to join, copy it, and I'm going to put that into the chat. So anybody who would like to join the Telegram for the Bitcoin ownership initiative, it's right there. Oh, that is not the right link. Let me try it again. Hold on. Invite via link, copy link. All right, let's try it again. So if you want to join the Telegram for the Bitcoin ownership initiative, it is there. And we also have a regular Wakanda Meetup Telegram if you just want to join the regular one. And I'll get that one too. Okay. Flo, do we have any social media shares so far that we'll be able to enter for a spin?
Yes, only Kili shared on TikTok.
Okay, cool. All right, so we got the last minute here. Copy link. Copy link. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a link to the regular Telegram. This is the Wakanda Meetup Telegram. And you have it right there. Okay, cool. All right. So I think that is time. And do we have anybody else, or is Kelly the only one who shared on it?
Only Kili.
All right, Kelly, congratulations. You're an automatic winner. So that's what happens when you take action. Automatic winner for a $10 a Bitcoin giveaway. So please give your Bitcoin address to Flo, and also your email address. Obviously, we can contact you through Priscilla. And congratulations on the one for social media sharing. And congrats. And I don't think we have anybody who's funded a Solarium account. So I think that is it. So what we'll do is let me get back into our presentation. We'll answer any questions that you guys have about the Bitcoin ownership initiative, about anything else. We got Iveta who's joining here. Hey, Iveta, how are you?
Hi.
Good. All right, so we just did the spins, but if you have done a social media share, or if you have registered for the Solarium or the Patreon or any of those, or if anybody else has done any others, let us know.
No, Rick must have been asking.
What was that? All right, good. So that is a spin. If you guys want to join the Telegram group, there's a QR code right there. If you want to join on the Patreon, there's a Telegram. There's a QR code in the Solarium. We also have the QR code for that too. Here's our screen sharing, I think. Cool. All right, there's M16 Pro Max again. All right. So cool. Congratulations to our winners. So Chantel, $5 a Bitcoin for joining Solarium. Afi, $5 a Bitcoin on the Patreon. And Killy, $10 a Bitcoin for the social media share. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And so this is your space. Ask anything, challenge everything. And of course, different questions that are kind of conversation starters about Bitcoin. What's the biggest barrier to Bitcoin ownership in your community? Right? What would it take for you to feel confident holding Bitcoin? And how do you explain Bitcoin to someone who's never heard of it before? So, interested in thoughts on any of those. What is the biggest barrier to Bitcoin ownership in your community? Welcome. Anybody have a big barrier? That you think makes it hard for people with Bitcoin ownership? Understanding and trusting technology. Yeah, that is a big one, Mr. T. I think that's a really good point. I think that in terms of if you think about, if you go to an ATM machine, right? Or if you use the internet, like we're on the internet right now, or you use your cell phone, I think in the early days, people will probably say, you know what, I don't get this technology. I don't know what this is. Um, you know, but at this point, if somebody said, hey, how does your cell phone work? For most people, you probably would not know, but you still use your cell phone, right? And the internet, and they go, oh, how's the internet work? I mean, a few people could tell you. I could probably tell you, Flo's computer science, maybe she can tell you. But most of us probably will not be able to answer how the internet works, and yet you're using the internet, right? So I think that understanding the technology itself is not as important. Maybe the trusting part of it, Mr. T, I would agree with, do you trust technology? That is a question, right? Do I trust it? I would say with Bitcoin having spent 15 years and never going down and never losing any transactions, that's pretty powerful. Right? That's a pretty powerful statement right there. But I think those are good points, Mr. T. M16 Pro, am proud of Priscilla. Thank you for bringing it. Welcome. Welcome. Glad you're here. And thank you for joining. And congratulations as well. Okay, what would it take for you to feel confident holding Bitcoin? What do you guys think about that? What makes you confident, not confident about holding Bitcoin? Right? What would it take for you to feel confident about holding Bitcoin? For those who are not already doing so. What would it take for you to feel confident about holding Bitcoin?
John, this is Cecile.
Go ahead, Cecile.
Um, it's funny. It's sometimes the more that something is defined, the less confident, less confidence you get now. Because just even today, I learned some new terminology, and now I've got to go back to doing a search on that. I have no problem owning the Bitcoin, but when some things start to change rapidly within it, then I lose a little confidence. I've learned from having purchased some Ethereum in the past that just because it fluctuates doesn't mean that there's no value in it, and so it's a confusing foundation initially. So I think that's the biggest barrier for me at this. Certainly not knowing it, because when you see it going up all the time, you get really pumped about it, and so that's.
Is there something that you see when you say changing? You talk about changing price, like changing technology. When you say changing, what do you mean there?
Oh, a combination of things. Obviously, when you start to see the institutions jumping in like crazy, you know that you may have missed the boat, or that you just need to start delving more into the information.
Right.
So it's just those conflicts that come in that just make for hesitancy.
Right. Yeah. So I think you're definitely not too late to the game. That's true for anybody. This game is still going. Frankly, you guys are probably still early, honestly, compared to like most of the population, right? And I mean, because there's what, 8 billion people plus in the world. And I think like, what is it like? How many? I think that's like 300 million or something like that who hold Bitcoin. It's someplace around like
Mm.
1.25% or something of the world's population actually holds Bitcoin. So you're actually pretty early in the game. Now, the one thing that people should understand is that because of the number of Bitcoin there is no way for everybody in the world to ever own a whole Bitcoin. So that's one of the reasons it's becoming so valuable, right? Because, everybody can't own, but we can all try to own a fraction. So we are still pretty early in the game. If you got questions, bring them here. That's why we have the community. Bring them in our meetup, our Telegram group. We discuss it, bring it into the Bitcoin ownership Telegram, which is specifically for what we're doing on Solarium right now and Bitcoin ownership, and also in the meetup group, so we can discuss it as well. That's why we have a community, so we can all talk about it together. Because as we say, each one teach one, right? And then Iveta, you said security. So when you want to kind of elaborate on what you mean when you talk about security?
Just getting it and being able to hold on to all these scammers and stuff out there, and the hackers.
Yeah.
It frightens me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. There are a ton of scammers. I mean, honestly, they're even for your bank account, credit cards. There's always scammers.
Right.
But you are right. There are definitely a lot of scams out there. The key thing is you work with somebody trusted. You have your own wallet. If you're going to use an exchange, use like Coinbase or Binance, a real legitimate one that everybody knows. And then, especially if you're holding it yourself, never give your keys out to anybody, right? Don't give that information. Don't let people know where you're storing that information. So security is very key. The security is more in your hands, but in my opinion, it's not a lot different. I mean, if I've got a credit card, I've still got to secure that. If I got a debit card or bank account, I've got to secure that. So I always have to be concerned about security, financial security aspects. That's not unique to Bitcoin, but you are a little more responsible with Bitcoin for yourself because no one else is gonna like fix it for you. If you have it on an exchange, I guess one advantage on exchange is that they will actually, help you to recover some transactions sometimes. But again, the downside there is that they can lock you out of that account. It happens sometimes. So,
Thanks.
there's trade-offs, but yes, it is a great point. And one of the best things for security, I mean, I pray also, but it's just knowledge. Build the knowledge that, to understand, how to store it and how to keep it safe. And that's really key.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mr. T, you said understanding how wallets work better. Yeah, I think you definitely want to understand your wallet, understand how it works. I mean, I've had some older wallets, stop working because they were hooked up to an old computer, and I couldn't get that computer working with a newer computer. So you got to stay on top of the technology. One of the easiest ones I like right now is a Tangent. It works like a little credit card, basically. But you definitely need to understand the technology and how it works for sure. And because you are ultimately responsible for your own money here completely, right? So there's no one else who's going to bail you out on this. Definitely understand the walls, understand the technology for sure. Still in the process, Mr. T. Still in the process of trying to recover those assets. But that's a more complicated story for another day. So anyway, but yeah, it was tied to an older computer, and that computer, I wasn't able to get access to it. So thankfully, nothing, earth shattering. I never leave all my assets in one place, but yeah, still trying to get to those. So, okay, how would you guys explain Bitcoin to someone who's never heard of it before? How would you explain it? Anyone want to try?
I can tackle that one for you.
All right, go for it.
So this is something that I always kind of explain, especially for new people. And I love how John is talking about community. Community is so important right now. Like it is so important. I think that will help with the uncertainty of this. Because like I said, they already got their hands on it and they want people to not really know what's going on. But kind of like what I explained earlier, imagine like the internet, right? The internet made it possible to send money the same way it made it possible to what? Send photos, send videos, send messages. So before the internet, what did you need? You needed the post office, right? To deliver a letter, right? today you can send an email instantly. So Bitcoin does something similar for money. It allows people to transfer value directly to someone else. So let me break it down just a little further, where if I give you two words that I always use, there's a difference between the internet of information and the internet of value. So right now you have the internet of information, where again it let us move data instantly. Emails, YouTube moves videos, right? Social media moves content. The problem though is that you can send information instantly, but guess what? You can't send ownership instantly. You can't do that. So that's where the value, that's how I kind of separate the two, the internet of value, the internet of information.
All right, go ahead. Let me
So the internet of value uses what we have now, which is your blockchain technology, to move money, to move assets, to move contracts, to move ownership rights, and you can move it directly between people without needing multiple middlemen. So now you have it, simple breakdown. The internet lets us send a photo anywhere in seconds. Now we have the internet of value that's going to let us send value anywhere in seconds. That's the simplest way I can explain it. And normally that kind of helps because there's a difference. So now we're in the internet of value phase. And that's why blockchain and what we're doing here is so powerful for everybody to get their hands on.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really, and the other thing also that people should think about is that with AI, we didn't touch on AI a lot today, but AI, you have all these agents out there now, and the agents, the way that they're paying for things and they're setting up accounts and everything, they're all using digital assets and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So this is going to get used more and more and more to what Lynette's saying, all the value being transacted on the internet, it's going to be using basically Bitcoin and these other digital assets. So this is going to not decrease, it's just going to get more and more and more and more. It's going to keep increasing, basically. Okay. Let me see. So celebrate our winners. Again, congratulations, Chantal and Afi and Keely. Congratulations. Thank you for everybody for participating as well. And we really hope everybody's a winner because you're going to all participate and learn about Bitcoin more and share it with other people in our communities so that we can actually all benefit and, be blessed and do even better together. As we say, each one teach one, right? So we spun the wheel, celebrate the winners, and stay connected. Community, we're going to keep getting started. You can get on Telegram for the Bitcoin ownership initiative. I put it in the chat. You can also get on the one for the Wakanda meetup. And then we have our meetup, our Patreon as well. So join the community and please participate. And I think as Lynette said, there's a Super Saturday for those who do a Solarium. You can jump on there, check it out. I think she included a link in the Telegram group. And Chantel, not yet. I wrote in a notebook. I will find it soon. Okay. Chantel, was that a comment from me?
No, that was for Flo. Sorry.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right. So a Bitcoin is money without rulers, right? So it's money that's for everybody. Democratizes the money. Everybody can access it. We obviously have our meetup group and want you guys to participate. Lynette, did you put that link? I know you put it into the Telegram, but I know some people are not in there right now. Do you want to share that in the chat as well for the Super Saturday thing?
Yeah, let me see if I can.
So if people want to join that, that's starting in like 30 minutes. If you were going to do the Solarium, they'll explain a lot more about what's going on. I think I'll probably drop it myself and they'll tell you about, how to participate, how to fund it, how all the latest things that they're doing, their affiliate program and how you can earn Bitcoin. So I would definitely suggest checking that out if you are going to participate in the Solarium. And I hope you do that pilot, check that out. You can check the link out in the Telegram group and you can also, I think Lynette's going to drop it here in a moment. So
yeah.
Mostly what I've got. Is there any last comments or questions before we wrap it up for today? Thank you, everybody, for participating and joining. All right, and make sure if you want a prize to send your information to Flo so we can get your Bitcoin to you, okay? Your email address, your Bitcoin address, and your name.
I'm in the process of sending it to my email so I can copy it and then post it here in the group. Give me one second.
We'll check something here. Okay, got it. All right. Take a look at this one later. Yeah. Okay. Take a look at that later. Copy.
Give me a second, y'all. I'm copying it now.
All right. And for everybody, whether you participate in that pilot, whether you just start buying DCA, what Lynette said, by the way, DCA just means dollar cost average. It means like every month you get $10 of Bitcoin, you get $50 or whatever, right? So however you decide to, start owning more Bitcoin, I suggest you do that. You can do it with Solarium, you could do it another way. You have, all of the different options, right? To try it, but you can also just buy some on Coinbase. You can also just, buy some on Binance. You can just buy some wherever and keep it in your personal wallet. It is up to you how you do it. But whatever you do, I suggest just make sure that you do, go ahead and make sure that you are acquiring it, learning about it, and, having it for yourself as well. Okay, so cool. Thanks everybody for joining. If you want to check out that Super Saturday event that Lynette talked about. You can check that out if you're going to do Solarium. But obviously, that's one path. You can do any one of the ways that you would like to, whether you would like to just own it in your own wallet, whether you want to just purchase some, learn about it more. The key is the Bitcoin aspect because it really is key for our future financial freedom, I believe, and financial inclusion for Africa and for diaspora, African American, wherever you are, right? So that is the event for the day. Appreciate everybody joining. Thanks, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.